and Conn, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here at the Mosaic Studio. I don't know what this is, Mosaic Space, but I'm glad you're here today.
Well, thank you very much, and it's an honor to be here today.
Okay.
So I did a little research too, and so you're referred to as the Mosaic Project?
I am, yes.
That's great.
Comes from a Jimmy Carter quote and a Thomas Merton quote, who was a monk in Kentucky, and it's basically this idea that like a mosaic glass, every single person carries this value, and everyone's got a story, and everyone's got dignity, and let's talk about that, and let's see your unique self.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, because, especially downtown, there's a lot of different personalities, and I'm one of those different personalities, though not many people know me, but everybody's got a different personality, and I think there's reasons why people are the way that they are.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have to say that's one of the reasons why I love downtown, and not just Springfield's downtown, but any downtown, because there's so many characters.
Yeah.
Whether it's the shop owner, the coffee shop owner, if it's the clothing boutique, or if it's the dog grooming, everybody has their own individual personality, and when you put all of that together, it's like a melting pot of mosaic works.
I would say it's not a melting pot, but a salad bowl.
There you go, maybe a salad bowl.
Everybody retains their individual unique characteristic.
And it's all mixed up together.
And we're not saying you need to morph into this thing.
Yes.
You stay exactly how you are. Now that you brought the segue up, what's the most unique personality you've seen downtown that you're like, yeah, you're kind of dope?
I don't really want to use names.
Okay.
There's a particular restaurant owner that has been around for a very, very, very long time, and I think his personality, along with his neighbor across the street from him, really are unique in what brings the downtown together, because these two individuals have probably been in downtown over 50 years if you combine the two together.
Okay.
And they know everything about downtown, and I'd say at one point or another they have tried everything that a new business owner will eventually try. And when they share their stories, they get very passionate about it, and sometimes it can come across somewhat aggressive, but it's with a lot of love. And I know them so well that their personalities are just like, it's almost from God. They're mentors from God.
Okay.
But you have to listen and really listen in, and it's like, I think people sometimes listen too much with body language as opposed to the actual words. Does that make sense? Like,
no, can you unthread that for me?
So I'm going to unthread it. If people will say it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Oh, okay.
So if I said something to like, well, you shouldn't have done that, and here's why.
And you shaking your head,
and
I'm
you're
catching all that.
shaking your head, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, you're so microaggressive.
Right.
But no, it's passion. It's passion.
Okay.
It comes across as passion, saying, I don't want you to make those same mistakes. Listen to what I'm saying and learn from what I did wrong, and maybe you can make a few decisions along the way that are different, and you'll have a different outcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah, not like 90%, who knows about statistics, but like 90% of our communication is nonverbal, so
Yeah.
I totally get that.
And then there's one other person downtown.
Okay.
He walks the streets downtown regularly, and some people think, oh, he's homeless. He's not. I mean,
He's not. I think I know who you're talking about.
The gentleman, and he's very articulate. He's always has a smile on his face.
I see him at a coffee place often.
Yep, that's him.
Yep.
He's a character, and if you ever take time to sit down and listen to his stories, like he's an interesting guy. But if you don't engage with him and try to, draw it out, you would think, it's just another homeless person downtown. But he's not. He's well dressed. He's articulate, but he wanders the streets all the time.
Yeah. He stays walking, doesn't he?
And that's why he's so healthy, I think. But
yeah, that walking's so important. If I'm squinting at you, I have a problem because just found out I have to have bifocals. I'm 43 years old, and the doctor was like, the optometrist was like, hey, by the way, buddy, you need bifocals this year.
There's nothing wrong with that. Embrace it.
That was like a punch in the gut.
No. Don't. You know what? That's part of growing older gracefully.
Okay.
You just embrace it and you roll with it.
Yeah, like, so my other glasses don't even work anymore. I was trying to read the other day, and I was like, I can't see a thing. So, I had this like little game that we were going to play, but you know what? We've already kind of like gotten into some conversational water, so we're going to move beyond that, okay? Karen Conn from the hospitality group, Conn Hospitality Group. Is it okay if I kind of synthesize your story? Because your story's told in a lot of different other formats. And if I can just try to hit the high notes, and then you can counter if you're like, hey, that's not the story. Because there's some other stuff I want to get into.
Okay.
Okay. So you've been working at Conn's Hospitality is the only job you've ever had.
It is.
You married into the family. You have a heart for restoring buildings. Okay.
I have a heart for restoring buildings. It's more of I have a passion for creating places that have stories and then will have a purpose.
We're going to get into that here in a second.
Well.
You like restoring places that have a story and have a purpose. The business, your husband's dad had 4 diners. Then it contracted in the 70s and 80s, and then you guys have expanded over time, and now you're just doing some amazing things in the community with Obed and Isaac's, the Inn. Just kind of like several different properties in town. Is that about right? Mm-hmm. And over the course of some discernment in your chapter, you're looking at selling certain properties. And some have closed down. And so you're just kind of in this next chapter. And that's kind of like, would you say that's a fair?
That is a real overview.
It's a real overview. But you did a podcast on Elevate Springfield. You've done SJR. You've done a lot of articles where it like tells your story. Is that about? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So here's what I would like to ask, if you're okay with it. Right now in this season, you've said this in 2 or 3 different articles or podcasts, and you've said, we're looking to make a transition. Your husband is fully retired. You want to spend time with him. And the phrase that kept coming up was, I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm not throwing in the towel on downtown. I'm not throwing in the towel just in general. So here would be my question. What phrase would you use, and why is it important that people know that distinction?
So the decision to, I'm going to call it now, consolidate and refocus on the business operation with the most sustainability, and that aligns with the pivot in life that I want to make. And I'm going to unpack that.
Okay.
The pivot I want to make in life is I need to be able at this time to spend more quality time with my husband while his health is good, and we are able to travel and do the things together that we truly enjoy and that we have missed out in the years leading up to where we are because we've worked so hard building this empire of where it is today. And so as he's turning 79 this year, it's like it's time, because let's face it, how many more years might I have to be able to do that? So the decision was made that we wanted to step back, and at that time, my husband had 2 sons in the business. I have 2 stepsons in the business that decided that they wanted to have a career pivot as well, and we totally respect that. So our decision wasn't based on anything that they decided. Our decision was already made prior, and when we shared what our decision was, that was the time that they decided they wanted to pivot. So when we made this decision, and now we have everything on the market except for Obed and Isaac's in Springfield, because that will be the sole business operation I would like to continue to focus on without having to run myself crazy wild.
Oh, absolutely.
what I currently do when people say, well, what's a day in your life? Well, the day in my life is I'm up at 3:30. I try to do my mental strength exercises in the morning, do my physical exercises in the morning, and then cap for my day. And literally, I do not sit down for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't get home until 6:30, 7:30, 8:30 at night. And then I still love to volunteer. I serve on many, many boards, commissions, because my passion is really about the community and what I can do to give back to the community that has brought us to where we are today. I volunteer. I'm a perpetual volunteer. And I want to be able to do more of that as well. I feel more fulfilled when I'm volunteering.
Totally. I think everything you said is what the young kids say is facts, or as my young teenager kids say that. And, it's like everything you said is true. But did somebody tell you you're throwing in the towel? Do you feel
Yes,
that? Somebody said that.
So I have had a couple of those keyboard warriors make comments about.
Oh, I don't even read any comment.
Well, and unfortunately, I don't either. But unfortunately, I have friends and family that are immensely protective. And so they'll say, well, did you see what so-and-so? And then they'll screenshot it and send it to me. So right there, it's in my face. And it's like, as much as I love my family and my friends and they're trying to protect me, please don't send me that stuff.
Absolutely.
Because it really deteriorates my mental health. But now knowing that there are people out there making those comments about me throwing in the towel, it does bother me. And so I want to make sure that everybody understands I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm just pivoting, and I'm going to refocus on the sustainable businesses that will allow me also to have time to spend with my husband.
Yeah. So, and I'm sorry that people said that, because it's truly unfortunate when anybody who's in any kind of entrepreneurial role or managerial role, and as using your words, running an empire, it doesn't just happen overnight, and it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of effort, and there's been probably a lot of tears. And as I think I read in one article, y'all almost went bankrupt, and then you came back, and you're having this. Those are that's a sentence, and then I was like, but those are so many late nights that you've had, so many tears, so many just what are we going to do next?
Here's the thing is I try to always have a positive attitude and always look for that silver lining. So all those challenges that I had, all the barriers I ran into, those help me sharpen my strategies long term.
Yeah.
So I learned from those, and it made me a tougher person to say. I've been doing this now for 40 years, and I think I have skin tougher than leather.
Yeah. And I hope those words of throwing in the towel, and it's funny because just one person's side comment, because I would doubt it's a ton of people who said you're throwing in the towel.
It's just a couple. And, I think everybody, even yourself.
Oh, I get words all the time where as a pastor, it's
and it's usually a small handful of the same people.
Yeah. Well, it's like, hey, that was a really good sermon. I don't get that often, but that was a really, that's a really good sermon. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, does every other sermon just flop out there, So I do get that, but yeah, there's that mental toughness. And I would think anybody of workplace substance would understand you're not throwing in the towel. I can't imagine somebody who has put a lot of effort into something and then for 40 years say, hey, there's a time where I need a next chapter. I don't think anybody would say that.
Yeah.
Most people.
And I agree with you. Most people don't. But I take those.
You take
those few people and what they're saying, and they're just like, you know what? That's what's motivating me to stay focused. And then I'm going to drop those bombs every now and then. I'm not throwing in the towel.
Yeah.
I'm just pivoting.
It's funny how just people's side comments can just sit with you. And then you know what wrecks me? comments maybe I have made to someone else that they're probably sitting with as well, because none of us are perfect, right? And you're like, oh man, I probably am the reason some people went into therapy. And so
Yeah. You know, I'm always the first one, and if I feel that, I pick the phone up and I'll call and say, hey, I said such and such, and I don't want you to think such and such.
well,
Because it makes me feel better.
yeah, for direct comments, sure, but there's some that are just unconscious comments or responsive comments
true.
that we don't even register, but that
That's a good
person
point.
registers in their soul.
Yeah.
So, well, I hope that you can free yourself. And who am I? We're just meeting today, but that is my hope and prayer for you, is that you can free yourself, unburden yourself of this throwing in the towel language. And I hope that it's replaced with a better metaphor.
Yeah. And you know, I don't hold it. I don't want to come across being like, oh, it
No, you're
really
not. No,
burdens
you're
me.
not.
It does. It motivates me to stay focused.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just that little verbiage there on my shoulder saying you have to stay focused because you're not throwing in the towel.
Absolutely
And
not.
so my actions, I hope, will speak louder than the words of me saying I'm selling.
Yeah, yeah. They are, because you helped with somebody who's just walking away doesn't help with the My Heart is Downtown campaign.
I'm all over that.
You're all over that. Such a rad logo. It's such a
My heart's down.
nice. I like it. And I love that Obed and Isaacs is
Thank you.
all in on it too.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, okay, so you have kind of worked with a lot of properties, and my question is, what responsibility comes with holding pieces of a city's story? Because you've held some significant properties in our town, in our city. What responsibility comes with that?
Geez, you know, initially when we did our first project at the inn, I don't think responsibility was on my mind. It was more of, this is a great old building and it's got a lot of history, and what can we do to share that history and tell that story? But then as we saw more properties, historic properties, being torn down, razed, then it was like, whoa, you know, the responsibility is like, we got to share this message about the importance of preserving a community's identity by preservation, and why preservation is financially feasible is that it is a tourism and driver, it's an economic driver, and it also is it's a mental and physical connection to local people and spending money where they live that they know stays local. So I think that the responsibility of being the steward of these historic properties is trying to also not save them and preserve the integrity and the architectural elements of it, but also making sure that other developers understand and appreciate the importance of, you know, preserving our past. You know, we can't appreciate our future if we don't preserve our past. You'll never know how good you have it until you have something that you know is worth saving. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And I wonder, has that rehab preservation bent always been kind of with you? Is that something that even, you know, and yeah.
You know, yes, because
Okay.
I'm a history person. I love history and I love historic stories. And my parents were also DIYers
Yeah, I
before it
heard
was
that.
popular. And so we were always living amongst construction sites in our family home. And so I think I got the bug then.
Okay.
And it was funny, I was just telling somebody a story recently about, you know, I'm fiercely independent. My dad raised me that way. And so much so, like when I got my first dollhouse, he traveled a lot. So Christmas, I got my first dollhouse, and it sat in the box for months and months and months because he couldn't cut the pieces out and put it together. And then when he left to go on one of his business trips, I got his bandsaw out and I did it myself and put it together. I think I was 10-ish in that area.
Okay.
when he got home, I was in major trouble. But at the same time, that was a story he told all his friends because he was so proud of me. So I'm fiercely independent. So I think that knowing I can do it, and I love what my parents did, it kind of gave me that jump start. You know, I'm a DIYer, historic preservationist. But then when I got into being more in the business field of it, I loved creating spaces that had stories that I could share with people.
Okay.
And then it became that place had a purpose because people always wanted to be there because they had the social connection once they're there.
Okay.
So, yes, it's always kind of been with me, but it was fostered over a period of time.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. That's like my oldest son. He's he does all our handiwork around the house because, like, I do not have that gene, but he just has it, and he'll just be like, I learned how to fix this, and I just knew how to.
Yep.
Some people just kind of intuitively know how to do that, or they're not afraid of messing up, and they'll figure it out as they go.
Yeah.
And you probably have that gene, I would imagine.
And a little bit of this self-confidence, like, there isn't anything I can't do, and thank God for YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is very true. You talked about spaces having stories and like moments and shared feelings, essentially. Like it communicates something. What building in downtown or what space in downtown really calls to you? Like what
That are not mine, or
the whole gamut that you would say that story is what, like, I cling to.
so, you know, that's I cling to the end story, and maybe it's because it was my first major project, but I really feel it's because Belle Miller, that had the Inn at 835 built as an apartment building in 1909, was a female entrepreneur in the late 1800s. Never married, never had children. So, again, she was a fiercely independent woman that created an empire where she had rows and rows of greenhouses starting at 2nd Street that went all the way over to Spring Street. She was successful, but then she aged. As she aged, she wasn't able to keep it all going, and she had to sell off her business and things like that. So I lean towards the inn, first project, and she was a female entrepreneur in the late 1800s, so you know the whole world was stacked against her. And I could tell she was fiercely independent. Then I jump over to Obed's, and I'd say, okay, that's my second property that really tugs at my heart, and probably even more so than the inn, because that whole complex was a part of my husband's mother's family.
That's right.
And she passed away right before we bought the first piece.
And didn't your whole family didn't want you to buy that, or?
Well, they thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we initially started with Jackson and 7th Street, which was the family property. Okay. And we walked in and saw a picture of my husband's family on the mantle, and we were like, who's that? And then the guy said, oh, it's the Lewis boys. And it was like, wait a minute, that was my mom's father. So, you know, we got into that, and then we moved the Grunendijk house to it, which was in 2008. You can read it all about it in the newspaper. I don't want to rehash all of that story.
Right.
And then that property sat dormant after we moved it. And it was like the bigger picture here to me was the entire block. And so that's when I was like, hey, we need to buy the rest of this block and turn it into the long-term bigger vision. But we're phasing it right now. It's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And that's what we did. We initially bought the 7th and Jackson, and then we jumped over and bought the Grunendijk. And then we opened Obed and Isaac's in the Grunendijk property. And then we jumped over to the original family home and renovated the carriage house and put our brewery in there. And then after that, then we opened the beer garden in a parking lot. And then after that, then we opened William Van's original coffee in what would have been...
Like that whole row.
Yeah. So that was over the course of 4 years.
So, okay. So these are the two properties that call out to you. And like, it's interesting too. I guess I'm having a hard time with this tension of You are a DIYer. Is that it? Is that?
Yeah,
I can barely speak English, so it's DIY. I'm Texan. It's DIYer. You're fiercely independent. It's called Conn's Hospitality Group. I don't necessarily, in every building you've talked about, there's been this hospitable factor. It's interesting, such a unique tension. I don't normally connect independent entrepreneur with hospitable. And so that's an interesting combination in your life's work.
Yeah. It takes people to make the world go round.
It's very true.
And not one person can do it alone. So when I say I'm fiercely independent, it's like I'm focused and I know that I can do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to go do it. And the way to do that along the way, you have to have people. You need to communicate, and you need a team.
Yeah.
So I don't want to come across like I do it all by myself. When I say fiercely independent, is I know I can do it.
Yeah.
I can get it done.
Yeah.
But I need a team of people around me.
Oh, 100. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So my dad made me fiercely independent. My mother made me hospitable because she was a little bit of a southern gal.
Oh, was
herself.
she?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, she was.
She's south of the Mason-Dixon line?
She was a Southern Baptist.
Oh, we're not Southern Baptists here.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
But it was about people. And
Yeah.
you always need to make somebody feel, when you're with somebody, you always want them to feel like they're part of the family and you care about them. And you're worried about them and that they're the only person that's in your eyes right now that's important.
It's so interesting that I think hospitality is such an important thing in our culture and in our society. And I actually think and I don't go here often, but like, have no idea your relationship with God. If you believe in God, it's all good. But in the Old Testament, have you ever heard of the story of Sodom and Gomorrah?
I am not really versed
Okay.
in the Bible,
It's a story about.
but I do believe in God. I do want you to know
Okay,
that. Not just
everybody gets to have their own story and their own journey, and this is not a proselyte. Like, I'm
I
not
get
trying
it.
to.
No,
yeah.
no, no, no.
But it's this idea of Sodom and Gomorrah. And I'm going to make all the fundamentalists mad right now. And I just absolutely love it. That's kind of our
go
church.
for it.
But like, it talks about the story about how traditionally Southern Baptists would talk about how this town, people there was homosexual activity, and then God wiped out all the gays in this town, and God hates gay people. That's traditionally how this story is told. There's another way to say it, and that is the Old Testament it is fiercely, and the New Testament, about hospitality and welcoming the stranger. And the great sin of that story is that they did not welcome these people to the town. Because when you look at the arc of the Bible, so many stories come back to this idea of hospitality. Do I see the person, just as you said, do I see them as their individual self right here, and can I create so I didn't mean to point. I sometimes get like this. Yeah. Like, can I welcome them right here as they are and make space for them and honor and value them? And I think that is a nuance. I love the idea of your whole business and your whole life's work is Conn's hospitality group. How can we welcome? How can we accommodate? How can we serve you as your individual self? I think that's rad. I keep saying rad. I think that's awesome.
Thank you. But that's...
You didn't come here for that, but I was
No,
thinking about that all week.
I just say amen to that.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly how my mother and father, my dad was a Lutheran, my mother was a Southern Baptist.
Okay.
He drank like a fish.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
But they found a compromise in the middle. So we were always raised like everybody deserves to be loved and welcomed.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Regardless of anything.
It's a tragedy. And I come back to your group and specifically because that word hospitality. And I think hospitality is such a key factor in how we're so fractured in this world. I think hospitality is one of the ways forward.
It is.
I really like, in my heart of hearts, I believe that.
And we need to leave all of the other stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah, welcome them as they are, make space for them. And that's hard to also hold. Like I have this phrase as I get older in life, now that I have my bifocals.
Do you want me to hold it out?
Yeah, you're right. Is like, hold everything with a loose hand and let them be their individual self. And so, and
I think for us to have a healthy community, everybody's needs need to be met.
oh, 100%.
And your needs are not the same as mine.
Yeah.
And so we need to respect that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let live.
Let live. So I want to transition. Do you have anything else you want to say about the Conn's hospitality group in this chapter?
So I would be remiss if I didn't bring up my husband's father, Roy
Okay.
Conn, because he started the business in 1948, and he was the one that had, it was 5 restaurants downtown at one time. And then when, everybody moved out to the suburbias and downtown started to empty out, that's when things shuttered down and they moved out of downtown and did solely catering. But of talking hospitality, Roy P. Conn was probably the most hospitable man you'll ever meet. And he really marked what you just said. Like, he welcomed anybody and everybody. And if you didn't have money to eat, he let you eat anyway. He was just that, and if you needed something, he was always the first person there to offer the hand and say, okay, let me see what I can do to help you. So you couple that with the way I was raised, and then his dad, which I really, truly admired, and he's kind of been my, mentor of, like, I want to be just like him in business as well.
Yeah.
To be that loving and caring without being soft and exposed and taken advantage of.
Yeah. I love that. It's a tradition. It's a family legacy, and what a beautiful story. What a beautiful story. And with the name Pecan,
Leroy Pecan.
he had to have. Did he have a pecan pie? I'm sure it wasn't spelled that way, but
we have a pecan pie recipe that is to die for. But it is. I always it's Leroy Pecan.
Leroy Pecan. Okay, so I want to transition now to downtown Springfield. And just, you're on the chair for the Master of
I'm
Arts
on the commission.
community.
I'm not the chair.
Okay, but you're on the committee. Master plan for the next 5 years, 10 years, something to that effect.
Yeah, so we're a commission that are helping guide the direction of how to implement the master plan that was adopted by the city for the medical district in downtown.
Okay.
And we've been meeting since October, I believe. And so we meet every month, and we go through the master plan. The intent was to go through the master plan and try to figure it out. But during the course of these meetings, I kind of just called the white elephant in the room and said, here's what we're hearing of why people aren't coming downtown. And until we resolve that, this master plan isn't going to work. And it's identifying what the issues were.
Right.
And then that's kind of where the My Heart came from. Leah, Wilson,
Right.
Lisa,
They did. All of y'all did such a great job, and it was a teamwork. And it's on benches, and it's the sculpture, and there's going to be another sculpture most likely. I want to step back one step. What's the identity and story of downtown Springfield? Because I think that might be there might be varying ideas on that.
So the current identity?
I just say I'd leave that very open-ended.
Because it has gone through its ebbs and flows of identity crisis, and then its strengths of, it was,
Do we have an identity right now?
Right now, it's My Heart's downtown.
It truly
is.
That's in complete infancy.
It is, but it is a brand that really has just kind of taken over.
100%.
So when you say downtown, everybody now is referring, the My Heart's downtown, which that wasn't really the intent of it being kind of its own entity.
Yeah.
The intent was we want to be top of mind awareness.
Right.
Which when you talk about downtown, it's My Heart's downtown. So the identity crisis that I'm going to call for downtown over the last couple of years was that downtown wasn't a place to be. It wasn't a place that it was safe. There wasn't a place that had anything going on. And most of all, there's no parking.
Yeah, that's such a that is
That's all perception.
It is all well, those new parking meters didn't help with that, whatever that was. But I would say downtown. Here's what I don't feel this way, but here's what I would say is like when I first got here to town, I went to the pickleball court. I'm the pickleball president, really seat of honor here in town. But I went there for my first year. I was just learning, and I talked to an officer, and they were like, "Hey, I got a new promotion." I was like, "Are you going to work downtown?" Verbatim, I will never work downtown. That place is a wasteland. I would say that the identity for unless you are of the dreamers downtown who have, I would say for me, it's this untapped, unmaterialized potential. That's what I would say downtown is right now, how I feel. When I walk around, I'm like, oh, this is so amazing. I see the charm, I see the beauty, but it is not materialized in this chapter of people coming for whatever reason. Outside of that, outside of the bubble, people would say it's a wasteland. And I just, it's a big lament I hold right now in this season.
And it's so sad because that's like, what about all of the shop owners,
Oh, I know.
their livelihood?
Oh, absolutely.
And you're saying that your business isn't worth anything because you're in a wasteland.
Right.
And so I take that as like a challenge.
Yeah.
First question I would ask is, what makes it a wasteland?
I don't believe
I know that.
So I would say,
But to somebody that would say
Yeah.
that, one of the first questions, what makes it a wasteland? Why do you think that? And they're
Yeah.
gonna point their finger to probably one in
the unhoused community, which is unfortunate. And that's one of the things that my pastor came through here. But he's in Kansas City, but I call him my pastor because he's just so true. He's so true. But he said, why don't you get an unhoused person in here in an ethical and responsible way and tell their story and hear their thoughts? And would that be healing? Because these are people. And I think so Josh Sabo came and we talked at length about that. In this master plan, is there a chapter that woos new business down here? Like industry? Can you even woo industry? I don't even know.
Well, I'm going to say, yes, you can woo industry, and that's what the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance, that's their mission.
That's the board you're on right now?
No. That's
You're on the master.
So I'm just on the commission for the master plan. So the master plan is just like what would help connect assets with the downtown, between the downtown and the medical district.
Okay.
What do we need to do to help
right.
improve pedestrian accessibility, safety, beautification? It ultimately drives economic, development. And so this master plan has identified ways, and what we're doing on the commission itself is how do we execute those plans that are on there. But before we can execute those things, we got to improve the perception of things because the perception has made it reality. So like when you have somebody say it's a wasteland downtown, that's what they're sharing with everybody they come in contact with.
Oh, 100%.
And then if you hear it enough,
It
you think
becomes
it's
true.
It's true. Yeah. Even though if you ask them to pinpoint why it's a wasteland, they probably will have a hard time doing that aside from maybe one thing.
Yeah.
And so we need to, as a group on this commission, where the My Heart's developed out of that, is we're trying to find a way to combat and counter those descriptions and narratives of downtown. How do we come about that? So we have to identify what's going to be said, which we all know what it is, and how do we overcome that? And the only way to do that is to bring the downtown community together. So we have to work with the businesses. We have to work with all the organizations that represent downtown, work with the organizations that represent the community, because even if you are on the west side of town, the north side, southeast, all of that area, it takes the entire community to make that downtown feasible. And why is it important to them? Because the first place a visitor looks, whether you're trying to attract them for a job to move here, they're going to look to the downtown for the health and vibrancy of that community. And if it is in the tanker, then you're going to have a hard time attracting employees.
Yeah. I went to one shaping downtown or shaping the conversation. I think it was somebody held it. I forgot who it was. But I had this realization too, because I'm from Houston, and there was downtown went through its ebbs and flows, downtown Houston. And now it's just so much of it's been revitalized, and so much of it has been but then there's this lingering thought in the back of my mind that was like, well, that's also because a lot of industry has come there too. So I don't know if it came first from rehab or if it came first from industry. And I'm not smart enough like you. I don't run any empires to know how to parse that. And I think all of it, if we can do anything positive, I think that helps.
So, I think it works together. It works in tandem. And if you take an overview of Springfield, what we currently have, I mean, we have a medical community that it's strong, it's solid, it continues to grow. We need to foster that and work that to build the development. And I think that's what's underway right now with the extension and further development of the medical community, which is being pushed at the Capitol building right now.
Okay.
And taking the current businesses we have, working with them and saying, okay, how can we work all of this together? And that's our focus, is the medical.
As an outsider, I still consider myself, I think you have to eat like 17 horseshoes to become an insider in Springfield. But as an outsider, is it horseshoes or pony shoes?
Both.
Okay. I've only had one. But I see the effort on the businesses downtown, the collective pushes of let's band together, let's rally together, and I admire that and I love it. And so I just was trying to look at, so here's the thing. So like with DSI, I know the name right now of the interim executive director is Jay Shanley. Who are the names of the commission for the board you're on and the other one, the economic?
So Jay chairs the commission.
Okay, Jay chairs both.
He will, I'm hoping, will be the executive director for DSI.
Okay.
And DSI is the chair of the commission. And
Okay.
so the commission also has individuals from that are on the medical district board or commission or whatever by the state. So there's people there. There's people from the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. There's people from each division of the city. So we might have the police there, fire, building code administrator, traffic engineering, city planner, the Office of Planning and Economic Development Chair, Amy Rising. We are trying to bring this commission to where it is like anybody and everybody that would have an influence in the downtown's future and revitalization. We're trying to have at that table. So it's a large group, and I'm on it because I'm a business owner downtown, and I sometimes get a little too passionate and speak too loud and bite myself.
My family's stake is in downtown flourishing. So that is my prayer. It's not as if when I say something, it's not pejorative. I mean, it is like we moved our family here, and the prayer was, Lord, do something in downtown and do something in this church. Like those are my two consistent prayers. So yeah, that's an interesting. That's an interesting thing. You're about to say something.
So what, from your perspective?
Yeah.
When it would be nice to have an outsider's perspective, and you called yourself an outsider still.
I did. Oh yeah, I feel that. I think you have to be. I mean, you have to be somewhere for a good. You have to have some lived experience. I'm only on the infancy of that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
What would you suggest As a group downtown that's
Yeah.
looking to move momentum forward
Yeah.
for downtown's
Yeah.
future, what would you suggest would be a priority to put into the mix of it?
I would love, and it sounds like it's addressed, but maybe it could, in my mind, I'd like to see it almost reframed a little bit. Like, and this, again, I don't run Empire, so I am like a,
Well, you
I,
have a little empire right
no,
now.
no, no, no. I am not I'm against, I speak truth to Empire. That's my calling. But I would say I love that there's a marketing, I love this idea of this marketing with tangential business opportunities. So you have this one apparatus of here's some marketing and business opportunities that are coming from that. So that's one apparatus. The other side would be, man, I am like super expressive today. The other side would be this is a group that is seeking like a industry and residential skin in the game downtown, because I go down to Kansas City, and
Yes, that is a boy,
if we became
poster
Kansas
child,
City, I
poster
would
child.
love that, because there is like, yes, they have the farmers market down there or whatever they call it, but then there's houses all around, and there are houses here, but you could tell that it's just been revitalized. And so there's also industry around there. And so I think it's these, I would love to know, so like here's Jay Shanley and this apparatus, and I'm just speaking it into existence, I guess. And then there's someone else that's like, oh, I know those two. Like, I know those two people are working on it. And like that, from
So-
my seat.
So I think that we are on that path.
Okay.
Where we do have Jay that's focused is like it's downtown businesses and the
Right.
culture.
Right.
So that could be the shopkeepers, it could be the museums, it could be the theaters. He
Yeah.
represents that collectively downtown. And then you have the mid-medical district, which they're seeking that housing component.
Sure.
They're seeking that industry in the form of medical technology.
Yeah.
And then we have also at the table, then we do have Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance, and they're out, broad reaching, trying to bring in that other form of industry. And it could be in the form, and I know there's a lot of controversy over it, but it's like the data center.
Oh, okay.
That was part of them bringing in. We can't
You
just,
are bold saying that right now.
I know, but the point, and like I said, there was going to be controversy.
Yeah, yeah.
But the point is we have those individuals that are out there looking
Yes.
to bring industry
Yes,
in.
I
It's
agree.
just right now it's an industry that everybody hates.
Right. Yes. I mean, I would love to know that, like, I'm so simple just to say, okay, these are the three people that are working on this. So, like, Jay is working in the business. I forgot. It's some dude who, he, like, not Ray Kroc. Anyways, he's a bestseller business group guy. But there's working in the business and working on the business.
Yes.
And so I see Jay as like working in the business right now. I would want to know who's working on the business. And maybe that's a disservice to Jay because he is working on the business. But I could see those things for such a massive thing. I could see these two separated and parsed out. So,
I think that there are those groups that are working in the business, but then there are those that are more holistic that
Yeah.
are working on the business.
yeah.
They're there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things I do take a little bit of pride in is like I know who's doing what and
Yeah.
and who's good at doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And I see these people putting all of these efforts in, and then I can connect those dots down here saying, yep, they're going to take care of this. And I'm a very forward person. I will say, this
Sure.
is my opinion, and this
Yeah.
is what I think needs to be done.
Yeah.
And I hope that you listen to me as you work on this.
So I guess I would counter that. It's not even counter. I would, in addition, could we work towards having that one individual or that one, but because I do, like you said, but as an outsider, I don't know, but I do know Jay, and so could we have that one person that I think might help others seek to support and encourage and foster those relationships? Because, yeah, I think that would be important.
Yeah, and I think
Is that off? I have no idea. I'm not a business
No,
person.
you're right on, and I think as I look at to the city's planning and office of planning and economic development really is that person.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they see that the same way we do.
And so it's just a conversation of, because I do, it's like rehab, like when Jake came here and said, how do you want to, what's your vision of downtown? Beautifying downtown. Yes, we need all the art. We need those rallying calls of my heart is downtown, which I love. Also, how else can we start fostering these businesses? Somebody wooed the data plan center, didn't go through, but there are other industries we can woo.
Yeah.
And so whoever that is, let's continue to woo and communicate it to the city.
And like I said, those individuals also serve on this commission.
Yeah.
And these are type of reports that get discussed at some of these meetings as well.
Okay. My prayer is that downtown would be Kansas. Like, honestly, I went to a women's soccer game there. My wife we had the best time. And like, I was like, literally like, this is my prayer. This is the vision I've caught. Like, I believe this for downtown. So if I said anything pejorative, it wasn't meant towards that. That is my prayer, is that this would become Kansas City. I think that could be a really amazing template.
It's funny you bring up Kansas City because we're trying to facilitate a leadership team meeting to Kansas City.
Wow.
To meet with the right leadership there.
Oh.
To discuss what was the process?
Yeah.
What were the phases? How many years? Who were at the table? All of that. And then another one that we've made some contact with already is also Kansas City. Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. They had a great development as well.
They had a nice boom.
Yeah, they really did. They really did.
It was considered the armpit of the country at one time before the three CDC were able to turn it around and revitalize
Being from
it.
Kentucky, I spent 6 years in Kentucky, and they called themselves the armpit of Kentucky, or the armpit of the country. So, yeah, I don't know what Texas is then. But that's a whole nother topic. So before we get, thank you for just talking with me about downtown. It's a passion of mine. That's part of why this whole thing started, was to reverse the narrative of, hey, there's some pretty amazing people downtown, and there's some great stories, and there is life, and there is vibrancy downtown. It's not just Levitt Amp. And if you can come here for Levitt Amp, you can also come here for other things. But I want to get you out of here on this question. What's your favorite view in downtown Springfield? If you could just pick one.
The view to or view from?
Open-ended. I'm a very open-ended person, yes.
All right. The favorite view from downtown is at the top of the old Wyndham Hotel.
Okay.
And I do kind of miss being able to have a beverage up there and watch the clouds set in. If you've never been up there, I'm sorry, because it is absolutely gorgeous. But my favorite view, too, is the state capitol.
Down Capitol Street?
Yeah.
Yeah. I sometimes go out there and just take pictures, and I'll stand in the middle of the road like at 5 a.m. when no one's around, and just kind of take it in.
Yeah. It's a beautiful building.
It's impressive.
It's a beautiful building.
Yeah. I like feeling, it's so massive. I like feeling small often, and I feel small. That's why I love the mountains. I love feeling insignificant. I don't ever think I'm significant, but I love feeling just that overwhelming insignificance. So there's probably a whole bunch of therapy that needs to come out of that sentence.
And I'm not going there. Let me ask you, reverse.
Yeah.
What's your favorite view, too?
When you say view to, I don't know what you like
when you
looking
look at.
into it.
Yeah. Like you just.
I like going
it
past the
stops you.
Dana Thomas house as I come in on Cook Street or Lawrence. I love seeing people gather there. As I'm driving into town, I love seeing people out in the front, and just it's just something about the vibrancy that I love. When I'm looking from. When I leave here, I like seeing the Hickok house apartments.
Oh, that whole block there kind
Yeah.
of makes you feel like you're in Chicago.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah, it kind of makes me feel like that city urban feel.
Yeah, that almost brings
Yeah.
a tear to my eye to see all those buildings boarded up.
I know. that's a lament I hold, but I hear some wonderful things are happening with that. And
Good.
so, well, thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we got to know each other, and thank you for just like letting me parse out some thoughts. And that was really special.
Well, thank you. This has been a real pleasure.
All right. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.